Welcome to the Page by Page Book Club. I'm your host, Paige Imprint, and I bring you weekly book club meetings wherever you get your podcasts. I'm back! Yes, the rumors are true. I'm back from vacation and I am rejuvenated and revitalized. I love how I'm surprised that a week off from my usual 80-hour work week schedule was shockingly relaxing, but it was. It was so funny on my second day there. I called my mom and she was like, "Are you bored?" And I was like, "Yup. Yeah, I'm bored." So there was a bit of this sounds so ridiculous, but there was a bit of a learning curve where I was like, "Do not work. You do not have to work right now. Everything's fine. Take a deep breath. Enjoy your time." So anyway, I'm glad to be back. I was actually going to make this podcast episode just what I read while I was at the beach, but reading recap for the month is next week. And so it's it would be the same thing twice. Y'all don't need that. So this week instead, we are going to be doing an episode on microtropes. Yes, microtropes. To anyone out there who does not know what a microtrope is, let's do a quick little breakdown and then we'll dive into some of my faves. Okay? So generally speaking, in terms of a book or a movie or entertainment, a trope is a common antidote, if you will, or driving plot force. So for example, very popular romance tropes are enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, workplace romance. I would say a trope is a staple to the telling of the story. It's in a way a story descriptor as a whole. Okay, so it gives you an insight into what the story is going to be about simply by sharing the trope. So workplace, well, you kind of have a sense of what's going to happen. Or enemies to lovers, well, they're not going to like it, that kind of thing. And it's going to be a driving force throughout the plot. So on the flip side, on the other hand, a microtrope is, honestly, I was talking to a friend about this week. I feel microtropes are just inside jokes between readers. It's a fun little thing that happens in a few of our favorite books, and it's just so fun, and it makes us giggle and kick our feet. And that's what I feel a microtrope is, because it's really not a progressor of the plot, but it is a fun antidote, a common happening in a romance book. So rapid fire to list a few. One of the most popular microtropes I would say is only one bed. You get to the end and there is one room left, but it has one bed. It happens in so many of our favorite stories, but we love it every time. Or another one is who did this to you? That's quote, who did this to you? And there's something about it. And so to me, a microtrope is an inside joke, kind of, or just a fun little thing that us readers know and we love when it happens and it's so fun, but it's not a large trope in the sense where it's plot progressing. Okay? That's how I describe it. Now, do I prepare for this podcast? No. Do I take notes? No. Do I do research? Absolutely not. So could I be wrong? Sure. But it's my podcast and my book club, and that's how I'm describing it. So all in favor say aye, we digress. My thought today is go through a few of my favorite microtropes and then give you a few recommendations for each of my favorite microtropes. I think that would be fun. I think that would be funky. I think that would be fresh. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, and you know this. My mom listens to this podcast. Hi, Mommy. I'm keeping it classy here. My content, me as a online presence, is probably, I would say, PG-13. And I do understand that the books that we read are not PG-13. However, for today's episode, per usual, because my mommy's here, we're going to keep it to clean microtropes. So yes, there are plenty of spicy microtropes. And again, they're just common occurrences that are kind of a fun little inside joke with us readers. And we love when it happens. But unfortunately today, I will not be listing any of those, but I do love all these microtropes that I am going to talk about. So cut your losses. There are some amazing creators that do spicy microtrope only posts. I would just do a quick little search. The SEO on both Bookstagram and BookTalk they'll get you squared away and taken care of. But we're going to keep it classy and clean here today because my mom's part of book club. Okay. Where to begin? Maybe with the classics like I was just talking about. I would say the classic is only one bed. We eat it up every time. It's tried and true. Like, I love, it's just so fun. The tension, the proximity. A few recommendations with the only one bed trope. I'm going to go with okay, actually, no. I'm starting with In a Rush by Kate Canterbury because I'm reading that right now. Team book club. This is mandatory required reading. Oh my gosh. Y'all know how much I love In a Jam. I have cried over In a Jam on this very podcast. It is my comfort read. It was, you know the drill. I'm not going to get into it. You've heard it a million times. In a Rush is In a Jam's sequel. I honestly, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm going to look because I don't know if Kate Canterbury is planning on releasing more in this series or what, but it was, from my understanding, quite delayed. No way, she's releasing more. Breaking news on the podcast right now. Shut up. See, it's better when I don't do research. It's better when we do it as a team together. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Fall 2025, book 3. Early 2026, book 4. Okay. Well, buckle up your boots, baby. In a Rush, I have not experienced yearning like this since In a Jam. He is so absolutely enamored by her and has been for 15 years. 15 years. He's the top quarterback in the NFL. And they're just high school best friends. And it's a marriage of convenience. Oh, and the yearning is just, it's yearning forward. Yeah, the top note is yearning in this book. And all of this long-windedness is to say there's an only one bed moment, and it's super fun because it's the classic in a marriage of convenience where they get there and there's only one bed, and then he's like, I'll just sleep on the couch, and she's like, no, I'll just sleep on the couch. He's like, I'll just sleep on the floor, and then she's like, we're adults, we can do this. And mind you, not but a few chapters ago, he fell asleep at her house while they were watching TV on her laptop in her bed. So they actually had slept in the same bed before. And that was kind of the catalyst to this being fun. It's well, we've done it before. Oh, yeah. The tension is so good. In a Rush, Kate Canterbury. Additionally, a classic, Powerless by Elsie Silver. It's a road trip. I feel like it's a road trip staple for sure, where it's we get to the end and there's no bed, or there's only one bed. Powerless Elsie Silver. This happens in one of Lena Hendrix's books. Oh, they're on their honeymoon, honeymoon weekend together, marriage of convenience. Just my luck. That one's really fun, and he's so grumpy. So grumpy. Yes. Grumpy and only one bed? Why, yes. Give it to me now. Training the Heart, Paisley Hope. Again, they're traveling. Hotel. Only one bed. I mean, I will say, I don't know why I continue saying hotel, because it's why else would they be in a scenario with only one bed? Except for Out with the Tide by Julie Olivia. They're roommates, but it's a really kind of dysfunctional situation because her dad decided to rent him a home for the summer. Okay? FMC's dad decided to rent the MMC this home for the summer. But the FMC unexpectedly comes home after losing her job and needs a place to stay, so she shows up at this house, right? And she was under the impression that she could just move home and live there. Well, someone's already living there, so they agree to be roommates, but there's literally one bedroom. And so that's kind of a fun one because it's literally only one bed. Another kind of fun take on this is His Greatest Muse by Hannah Cowan, because they were on a tour bus together, and obviously he has the suite in the back of the tour bus. So love that. Those are some good ones to get you started. A little intro, if you will, to the little only one bed microtrope. Now, an additional classic is Who Did This to You? She's hurt, she's injured, she's crying, whatever it may be. And he says, who did this to you? Yeah. That would do it. That would do it. So I feel like this is more common in romantasy. And I feel like it particularly hits different in an enemies to lovers scenario, because when you're visibly upset or injured or whatever in front of your enemy and then they're like, who did this to you? Yeah. A few recommendations for who did this to you. The Predator by Runix is the first book in the Dark First series. Mind you, this is not a standalone. This series is not a standalone. You cannot start in the middle, and you likely will not want to stop after the first book. I always like throwing that out there, just a heads up. And I have also only read the first 5. There's 6 in the series. I have not read the last book yet, so keep that in mind. But I feel comfortable having left off on the 5th book, by the way. Like, I'm not like feeling like I'm on a uber cliffhanger or anything. So keep that in mind. That's an option. Another one is Revenge of the Forgotten by Danny Crooks. This one is so interesting. Again, first book in a trilogy. It is a lovers to enemies romance, and it hits so hard because he has her like imprisoned. It's a long story. You just had to be there, which you could be there if you read the book. And he has her imprisoned, and then one of his guards like really injures her. How about that? I was like, how do I say this without getting flagged? And he comes down and she's obviously severely wounded, and he's like, who did this to you? And it's like such a good tension building moment in that story because it's lovers to enemies. And okay, actually I need to explain this more. Revenge of the Forgotten by Danny Crooks is so interesting because she is cursed to forget. That's the whole thing. She has lived 20-something lifetimes. And every time she dies, she forgets and is forced to be reborn again. Or like, it's kind of like a reset button. And she restarts like somewhere in her late teens, early 20s on Earth. But her entire life and family and friends are on this other realm, dimension, whatever it may be, world. And they remember her, and he remembers everything. Like, he's had to kill her multiple times. And it's just this whole thing. And so he remembers everything, and you're getting his point of view where you know that he remembers everything. And then, for her, she remembers nothing at this time. And or recently recovered her memories. And so it's like she doesn't understand the gravity of how much he cares for her. And honestly, at this point, like, he has kind of shoved all of this down to the point where he's like, I don't love you anymore. Wrong. But it's such a like rewarding moment as a romance reader where they're enemies, like full-blown enemies, but you see him softening for her. Oh, it's just like, it's really good. I know that entire explanation was a little rough, okay? It has been a long day. I worked my second job, and then now I'm here working my third job, and I have a very mentally daunting day tomorrow, and I can't exactly talk about it yet, but it has to do with all these like life changes that I've been talking about lately, and actually like this is the tipping point where I can like start talking to you guys about it. So stay tuned. But like, my mind's all over the place, and for that I am sorry, but I do still want to give you all a podcast, and so I am sorry my mind is a little bit all over the place, but I hope you don't mind, and I hope you still enjoy, and I hope it feels like we're just on a little chit chat hangout. And all of my poor friends who listen to this, who get voice notes from me all day long, and then here I am with like a 40-minute long rambling voice note posted on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like, bless your hearts. Bless your hearts. I'm going to continue moving on from Revenge of the Forgotten, but just know, so good. Check it out. First in a trilogy. The first book and then a prequel novella is released, but it's intended to be read second, and it absolutely should be read second. Like, but it's so good. Okay. Shield of Sparrows by Devoney Perry, another romantasy, has this moment. Let's just do a classic, romantic suspense, contemporary romantic suspense. Beautiful Exile by Catherine Cowles has this. Destined by Kay Knightley, another romantic suspense, has this. Yeah. Oh, Binding 13, Boys of Tommen. That's a classic who did this to you moment. And honestly, the entire book and the theme of this book is who's doing this to you? Who's hurting you? What is going on? Really fascinating. We will be having a Boys of Tommen episode. Fear not. The 6th installment is coming out this month, and we will be discussing. So hold tight. Let's move on to another microtrope. So here's an interesting one. Let's talk about, quote, my wife. My wife is a hallmark staple of the marriage of convenience trope, or any book involving marriage, but very rarely are we seeing marriage books. The only two marriage and crisis books I think I've ever read are King of Greed and Out of the Woods. So in a marriage of convenience, this microtrope is when the MMC either says where's my wife, or continually possessively calls the FMC my wife. It's just the idea of my wife. It's possessive, and it is taking the relationship to a level that it was not at before, where it's oh, we're just doing this for marriage of convenience, it's for the money, or it's for the safety or the insurance or whatever it may be. And the title my wife very much so makes it real. So, and frankly, the tricky thing about my wife is that it is kind of a byproduct of the marriage of convenience trope and is almost expected in a way. I would say that most readers would be disappointed in a marriage of convenience book if my wife is not used. So I'm not going to list all of the marriage of convenience tropes that ever were, because that's kind of just what we would end up doing. But Wild Side by Elsie Silver has done this recently. I was just talking about it earlier. Just My Luck, Lena Hendricks. King of Wrath, I feel like when I think marriage of convenience, I think King of Wrath by Anna Huang, and I think Marriage for One by Ella Maisie. Those are classic my wives. Now, one that I don't have any recommendations for off the top of my head, but is also is When They're Not Married, and he's my wife. Very interesting. Takes a very particular type of MMC to me to pull this off, but when they do, yeah, that'll do it. Another interesting take on this trope is Bull Rush by Maggie Rowden. And what's interesting about this one is they're divorced, or they thought they were divorced, and then come to find out the divorce papers were never filed, and so they're technically still married, and so he's kind of coming back into her life, and so that my wife hits so different too. It is dark, it is cowboy, it's also football. It's very interesting. I think it's well done. Romantic suspense. So if you're in the market for something a little different, I highly recommend Bull Rush. Oh, this is a good one. He Wears Glasses. See, you see how this is just pretty much inside jokes with us girls. I don't know, just something about, I saw someone the other day. Oh, dang it. If it was you, please let me know and I will post about this. But maybe it was Carly Reed's, because this sounds like something she would say, I feel. But let me know. She was nothing like when a man wears his slutty little glasses. Yes, dude. Something about it, very Clark Kent. Very studious, very intelligent, very handsome, very classy. It's one of my favorites. I would say it's a top 3 for me. It's just so good. Classics include, but are not limited to, Caught Up by Liz Tomforty. By the way, I did learn that the E at the end of Liz Tomforty is supposed to be pronounced. So sincerest apologies for all the times in the past that I messed that up. So sorry. Ghost Rider, Lawson Lasso, Lila Sage. Bourbon and Secrets by Victoria Wilder, and he has the glasses on the cover, and I'm obsessed with that cover. And I'm chomping at the bit to talk about Bourbon and Proof. I've read it, y'all. I've read Bourbon and Proof, and Ace does wear glasses occasionally. Guys, I cannot wait to talk about this book. Holy crap. You're not ready. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Fangirling over Victoria Wilder for 60 seconds. Bourbon and Proof is that girl. And Hadley, she's everything you wanted her to be and more. Sorry for the side quest, nobody's surprised. The entire Bourbon Boys series is just so good. But yeah, I don't know. We're going to go back to the glasses. Something about glasses. I feel like Sawyer from Sawyer by Jessica Peterson, I think he might wear glasses. But it's just it's a silly little inside joke with the girls. We love when the boys wear their slutty little glasses. Sue us. It's fine. Another one that I've been liking as of late is He Reads Her Romance Books, or he just happens to read romance books. I had a really hard time trying to remember these. See, the thing with microtropes is they're micro. So they happen like once in the book and then go on. And unless I'm like really updating my story graph and all my tags, like it comes and it goes and I miss it and I forget that it's in the book. And it's very sad. So this one in particular was hard because I feel like it happens often enough, but I could only think of a few. Collide by Balcabra, he does this. Despite it all, Molly Goins. Jet, I love that man. I love that man. Let me be clear. Jet Ellison, despite it all, Molly Goins is that guy. One of my top MCs of all time. Okay. And then We Can't Be Friends by Hannah Hamrick. He reads her romance books. I feel like Kingston Pierce and Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov, like he has to because she owns a romance bookstore. So I feel like that has to be in there. Certainly, right? I don't know. Anyway, I just think it's a fun little cheeky moment, and usually it ends up being kind of like a spice thing, but sometimes not. But sometimes like it's a little jokey joke, and then sometimes it's like oh, okay. So, reader beware. This one is my friend Olivia's favorite, and it's like when he knows her coffee order or her food order. And like what I like about this microtrope is it's just like they just know each other down to what they would want to eat. Like, and honestly, like what an intimate thing, like for real, to know someone well enough on any given day, like just like knowing what they would want to eat. Like I just think that that's beautiful. Like actually I always like looked up to my mom about that growing up because like she would order like to go for dinner or something. Half the time she wouldn't even ask dad like what he wanted. She just like knows my dad. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing. I love my parents' love so much. Just a little side quest. It's very inspiring to me. They are not crying on the podcast again. Hold tight. They have set such a beautiful example of what love and marriage can look like for me. So shout out to my mom and my dad for real. XOXO. That's all. I'll be done. Anyway, knowing each other's food order. That's how we got down that side quest. A few examples of this are from Dustin by Kay Knightley. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier with Who Did This to You, but there's like a restaurant in town and she ordered lasagna once and like mentioned it was her favorite, and then he made lasagna for her. It was really, really sweet. It was so good. And then Picturesque by Molly Goins. He knows her tea order because she only drinks tea, no coffee, and he knows her order, and it's very, very sweet, very cute. And it's like even better because he's like a pro MLB pitcher and he's like running to get her tea. I don't know. It's just cute. Give Me Love by Corinne Michaels. I really like this one because she knows his order, but more particularly, he's very particular about what he eats on each day of the week. And this book in particular, A Second Chance Marriage of Convenience, they got married while they were in the military together to stay in the same unit. And then they like remained married, and she comes to town and like surprises him, and it's forced proximity, and it's really, really, really good. I do recommend reading Help Me Remember first. It's cool because they were in the military together, and he has like different meals he eats every day, and she remembers them from all those years ago. And it's just like, it's very intimate. It's kind of like a joke between them that she remembers and like keeps ordering his food at the diner and stuff. I don't know. It's intimate. It shows that you know someone. It shows that you pay attention to someone. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I love this microtrope. Olivia, you're right. Okay. And then here's another favorite of mine. My top 3 favorites are Glasses and then Secret Tattoo, which is exactly what it sounds like. One of the characters has a secret tattoo for the other character, meaning they got this tattoo, they didn't tell the other person that they got this tattoo, like it's been a secret, but it's like in their honor or to represent them. So I have a whole video on like just secret tattoo recommendations, but Heathen and Honeysuckle, she has a secret tattoo for him. Wyatt by Jessica Peterson. Northern Twilight, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, which I very well could be, it's a second chance romance, and a lot of these are like second chance or childhood friends. He has this entire like tattoo sleeve, and if you pay close enough attention to it, every minute detail signals her. I almost want to say there's like it's either her eyes or like her face is part of the sleeve. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. So that is like a fun one. And like when she realizes and finds out, ooh, it's so good. Again, Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov has this. His Greatest Muse, Hannah Cowan. Those are the ones that are coming to mind, like off the top of the dome, but it's just always such a fun reveal where it's like, oh my God, they like are obsessed with them and have been for a long time. Like it's just so, it's so fun. Another one that people tend to love is like the caretaking trope where like one of them is sick and the other helps take care of them. This one I actually didn't have on my list, but I did have like hair washing on my list, which is what made me think of this. But caretaking off the top of my head, Through the Glen by Samantha Young. And that one's so good because that's kind of what starts their relationship. She has gone to this cottage to write because she's an author, a best-selling author, but nobody knows because she writes under a pen name. And while she's at this remote location, she gets very, very, very sick. And he actually comes looking for her because she pitched her book to him for him to write the screen adaptation for, and he initially said no and then changed his mind, so he like went looking for her and realized she was sick, and so he stays with her to help her get better, and that's kind of how their relationship even starts. So that's a really interesting one. Only for the Summer, that's a classic one, and he like rows to her on a pool floaty across a lake to get to her when she's sick. That one's wild, so good. I love that trope. I don't love that people are sick, but like I love the caretaking trope. And then hair washing is where he washes her hair. Simple as that. Pretty Rings and Broken Things by Kat Singleton has this, which is a fun marriage of convenience. I love this book, and I love the conflict in this book because there's no third act breakup, and it very, very, very easily could have been a third act breakup. And then he chose to communicate like an adult, and it was beautiful. And I loved it. So cheers to you, Archer Moore. Fall With Me by Becca Mack has this. Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I mean, yeah, it's just, again, I think a lot of these microtropes create intimacy, and they're classic for a reason. They're the perfect storm in many ways. And so I'm all about added intimacy. And I think, you know, hair washing, caretaking, like you're with someone at a very vulnerable moment. If they're sick, if they're in the shower, whatever it may be. And choosing to take care of them in that moment is, I think, very, very beautiful. So, and then we have my personal favorite. I have not talked with a professional about this yet, and I know I say it every time, and I will, but today's not that day, nor will tomorrow be. My personal favorite microtrope is when he cares so much, he cries. I know. Like, and I will check in with a professional. I will, but let me explain myself. I love this trope because I love, particularly when a very strong, grumpy, just like man, like, you know, is willing to feel his feelings. Earth-shattering, breaking news, crazy concept. But it's so good. Like a man with emotional intelligence and knowing that crying isn't going to make you less manly. It just means you care about something. I don't know. I love it. And usually, like, the crying's not like just like for funsies. Like, it's usually because they care so much about a situation or the person or whatever it may be. And so some examples where this happens: Merit by Devaney Perry, On Lover's Lane by Samantha Young. And this was actually the book that made me be like, this is my favorite. Through the third act conflict, she comes back and he's sitting at her door crying. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And he's like a reformed playboy, total grump, professional soccer player. Like, oh, and he's just literally reduced to tears at the thought of losing her. And I love it. You should care that much. You should cry. That is correct. The thought of losing her makes you cry? That's correct. Yeah. Stolen Dreams by Natasha Madison, he cries. I feel like actually that whole series, those men are very emotionally intelligent. All of Jessica Peterson's men, specifically in Lucky River Ranch. I'm thinking of Sawyer in particular. He was like, he felt his feelings and I loved him for it. Like, I loved him for that. Oh, so good. So good. Honestly, it's happening like more and more and more in the books I'm reading, and I'm eating it up every time. It never gets old for me. And I guess that's the point of the microtrope, and what I've been saying this whole time is like, it never gets old. I love seeing it. I love when it happens. And is someone crying really a trope or a microtrope? No. But I just like when a very manly man is just so emotionally invested that it brings him to tears. Okay? Sue me. I like what I like. I know that this episode is a bit short, and for that I am sorry. And I'm also sorry because I know I've kind of been all over the place, but at the end of the day, isn't this really just a long voice note, pretty much? And it's book club. Like, that's what this is. So it's authentic. It's authentic to me and who I am as a person. I am very, very, very excited to get to talk to you about some of the things that are adjusting my life. I think I might be able to talk to you about it next podcast episode, but if not, certainly the next week. So in the next 2 weeks, more info to come. If you don't follow me on my socials, you should and you could, and that's where you can get more real-time updates. I am at Page Imprint on all platforms. Kind of fun. Page spelled like a book. That's how it's spelled. I'm like a 7th generation Page, mind you. It's my middle name, but like the pun was just too good. Anyway, I think that's gonna be a wrap for today. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you being here. Y'all make this so fun, and this is one of my favorite types of content to make because I just love getting to yap with you guys. Like, I love the long form so much because no one has ever accused me of being short-winded. No one has ever accused me of making a long story short. That's for sure. So we're not going to start today. None of the things that are happening in my life would be possible if it weren't for you. And so, yet again, as always, I want to take a moment to say thank you for supporting me, for giving me a platform, because a platform is a privilege and I do not take that lightly. So thank you to every single one of you. I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a message, comment, whatever it may be, whatever your choice is. I genuinely love hearing from you all, so please holler. And I think that'll do it. Thank you as always for spending your time with me. I'll see you in the next one.